Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home.
Today we are going to give a little update on this Mastercraft Quality Japan automatic petrol lighter. This lighter looks like it has a clear plastic sleeve over the painting or whatever is forming the colors of the graphic on the lighter. I don't know if that is just there for protection. I don't know if that is paint below it, or if the colors are perhaps even on the back side of this plastic sleeve, but you can feel it there. You can feel that little thin sleeve with your fingernail. We have done a video on this lighter before. I believe we repaired this lighter on video, and I just don't recall whether it worked good enough that we could sell it or not, or whether or not it still needs some work. So we're going to fuel this up real quick. Well, that didn't go too well. Most of that shot straight out of there, so we'll make sure and not hold that against this wadding as we squirt it. That wadding must be packed in there pretty tight. So there is number 3. Even though the first one may have ended up more on the bottom of the lighter than in the wadding. Number 4. Five. And let's stop right there for now. Let's just see if that is enough. No reason to give the lighter vapor lock if we don't have to. Wipe excess fuel off that bottom. So we're getting a spark good enough that if we had fuel vapor traveling up the wick, then it should be igniting. So I think 5 droppers was not enough. This will be number 6. Seven. And 8. Again, squirting some of it on the bottom rather than getting it into the wadding, but we're going to get this lighter fueled up one way or the other and determine whether or not it is a reliable, dependable petrol lighter. A little bit on the bottom, but not enough that it causes any problem. And that one strikes up on the second turn. That is waning a little bit there though, so let's put another dropper in there just to make sure that we've got enough. I would be curious to hear from you guys down in the comments just exactly how you go about filling up a lighter, how you safeguard against overfilling it, whether you employ a dropper like I do and still overfill it half the time, or whether you've got some other kind of method. Are you particularly worried about overfilling it, about wasting fuel, about having fuel all over your lighter before you ignite it, having to wipe that off and not catch your hand on fire? Is that something that bothers you, or is this all just part of the fun of dealing with old petrol lighters. Looks like a strong flame. We do have some charring on the wick. But that is somewhat typical. You don't see too many wicks that have been lit that don't have some charring, burning, soot contamination of one kind or another. This is basically a Ronson standard clone. A really neat design. Some blemishes to the aesthetic appeal of the lighter, but nothing that diminishes from its value too much. Still hear a little bit of that snap, maybe a little bit overfilled when that snuffer closes. But now igniting much better. Seems pretty reliable. Seems like a lighter that you could put into your pocket. Press the button when you need to light up. And this lighter seems like it would serve you perfectly well. Here's another Ronson standard clone. This one is marked Hadson, HMC, Japan. Seems to have a good strong spark, especially in some positions, maybe not every position. Get this screwdriver out here to open up this fuel screw, and that way half of you guys can tell me I'm an idiot for not using a penny in there. It's all in good fun. Now, fuel this one up. We ended up putting 8 in that last one, so let's just go ahead and put 8 in this one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am going to check this wick real quick. And not damp yet. Number 7. And 8. I acquired this lighter about the same time as that Mastercraft lighter with the red inverted V on it back there. After making so many videos, there are times where I will go back and check those videos to see certain things, but then there's other times where it's all just a blur. It just seems easier to fill them up again. This lighter also has a wrap, which you can see as it moves up and down or slips up and down on the body of that lighter a little bit. I believe that is a polo player. I think it's a polo mallet. Could be wrong. Nice textured synthetic wrap. And that spark doesn't seem strong enough at all. But it appears as though we don't have enough fuel in there anyway. So we will add a couple more droppers. It's not that much space between here and here, or here where the wick is. Maybe I ought to be leaning it in that direction. It does seem like after putting that 11 droppers in there now, seems like that should be sufficient. Some of these fuel screws are kind of hard to get started straight. And that is a good reason not to try to start one with a screwdriver or a coin or anything metal or hard, but rather your finger or thumbnail. Now that we get our fuel screw tightened down, we have had a little bit of fluid leak out onto the body of the lighter there. And we have ignition. Whether or not we have reliable, dependable ignition is another story. It's quite a bit of fuel leaking out the bottom, so I would say at this point that I probably overfilled it, because unless that wadding in there is just completely shot, you can see that it is dropping some fuel down on my hand when I do that. But for the most part, a lighter should not drip when you take the fuel screw out. Even if it's full, that wadding should hold the fuel up in there. And no, oh no, there is a rubber gasket on there, on that fuel screw, and it was still leaking, so perhaps because I didn't tighten it on down with a screwdriver, just used my thumbnail. See what happens if we tighten it on down. That was a nice ignition there, followed by 2 skips. So that file wheel looks nice and clean. But this lighter definitely does not seem to be igniting as reliably as the other one. Hard to say whether it is being caused by the moisture from the fluid not letting the flint really grab a hold of that file wheel, or whether there is a weakness in the file wheel or the tension. But there are definitely some of these strikes where we're not getting a spark, or an insufficient spark like that one. So we are going to say at this moment that this lighter with the emblem of the polo player on it is not reliable, not currently a dependable lighter that you can put into your pocket, take it with you, and light up your smoke. The Mastercraft lighter, however, exhibits much better function. Seems much more dependable, and a lighter that you definitely could put in your pocket, take it with you, and light up whatever it is that you intend to combust. Until next time.